Colin Reese sat rigid in the defendant's chair in the courthouse, his calloused hands folded on the polished oak table as his wife of 11 years wept crocodile tears 20 feet away. Madeline's perfectly manicured fingers clutched a tissue, while her attorney, a shark in a $1,000 suit, queued up exhibit after exhibit on the digital display. "Your Honor," the attorney began, his voice dripping with manufactured sympathy. "This man, this husband and father figure, has been living a double life that would make your skin crawl." The first screenshot appeared on the massive screen. Text messages, intimate and explicit, between someone named Colin_R_Reese 2024 and a woman called Lacey Rhodes _89. Colin's throat went dry as he read words he'd never typed, promises he'd never made, confessions of desires he'd never felt. "These conversations," the attorney continued, "span 6 months, but it gets worse." The screen flickered to a video call recording. Colin watched in horror as his own face filled the frame, his brown eyes, his slightly crooked nose from a childhood hockey accident. That Colin was speaking to someone off camera, his voice rough with want. "Lacey, baby, you drive me crazy," the recording said in Colin's exact vocal pattern. "I can't wait to see you again." A woman's laughter tinkled through the speakers. "Tell me what you want to do to me, Colin." Colin had never had this conversation. He'd never met anyone named Lacey. But there he was, apparently betraying his marriage vows in high definition. "Furthermore," the attorney pressed on, "we have financial records showing Mr. Reese paid this woman over $8,000 across multiple platforms." Banking statements filled the screen showing transfers to accounts Colin had never opened, using crypto wallets he'd never heard of. Madeline sobbed louder. "I trusted him, Your Honor. I gave him everything, and this is how he repays me." Judge Patricia studied the evidence with the intensity of a hawk examining prey. Her dark eyes shifted to Colin, who sat speechless. "Mr. Reese," Judge Morrison said, her tone sharp enough to cut glass, "these are serious allegations. Do you have anything to say in your defense?" Colin's attorney, a tired public defender, Dave Brennan, cleared his throat. "Your Honor, my client maintains his innocence. We believe there's more to this story than meets the eye." "More to the story?" Madeline's attorney scoffed. "Your Honor, the evidence speaks for itself. Mrs. Reese is asking for full dissolution of the marriage, spousal support, and exclusive ownership of the marital home due to the emotional trauma inflicted by her husband's infidelity and deception." Colin found his voice, though it came out as a croak. "Your Honor, I swear on my mother's grave, this isn't me." Judge Morrison raised an eyebrow. A murmur ran through the packed courtroom. Madeline's supporters, her book club friends, her yoga instructor, her sister, shook their heads in disgust. Colin felt completely alone, drowning in a nightmare he couldn't wake up from. "We'll reconvene in 2 weeks," Judge Morrison announced. "Mr. Reese, I suggest you use that time wisely to prepare a more substantial defense, because right now, the evidence against you is overwhelming." Colin sat frozen while Madeline packed her leather briefcase with theatrical precision. She looked immaculate as always. Her blonde hair styled in perfect waves, her navy dress tailored to perfection, her makeup flawless despite the tears. "You know what kills me most?" she said quietly, not looking at him. "It's not even that you cheated. It's that you're still lying about it. Even caught red-handed, you can't give me the dignity of honesty." "Madeline, please," Colin pleaded. "You've known me for 11 years. When have I ever lied to you? This isn't me." She finally met his eyes, and Colin saw something cold behind her usual warmth. "Maybe I never really knew you at all." As she went away, Colin felt his world crumbling around him. Everything he'd built, his marriage, his reputation, his sense of self, was dissolving like sugar in acid. He pulled out his phone with shaking hands and dialed the one person who might believe him. "Ari, it's me. I need your help. I don't know how to explain it, but my entire life just went up in flames." Ari Mendoza's apartment looked like a cybersecurity expert's fever dream. Multiple monitors glowed in the darkness, cables snaked across every surface, and the air hummed with the white noise of cooling fans. Colin sat hunched over a steaming mug of coffee, his face illuminated by the blue glow of screens displaying the evidence that was destroying his life. "Run it back again," Colin said, his voice hoarse from 3 hours of analysis. Ari, a compact Puerto Rican man with sleeve tattoos and suspicious eyes, clicked play on the video file for the dozenth time. "Look, Hermano, I've seen some sophisticated deepfakes in my career, but this..." He paused the video at a close-up of Colin's face. The facial mapping is nearly flawless. Whoever did this had access to hundreds of reference photos and probably hours of your voice recordings. But it's not me, Colin insisted. I've never seen this woman in my life. The woman might not even exist, Ari muttered, opening another window. Let me dig into this Lacey Rhodes character. His fingers flew across the keyboard, pulling up facial recognition databases, reverse image searches, and social media crawlers. After 20 minutes of intensive searching, Ari leaned back in his gaming chair. Your girlfriend's a ghost, man. No social security number, no driver's license, no voter registration. The photos trace back to a defunct adult entertainment agency stock footage from 2019. But here's where it gets interesting. Ari pulled up a technical analysis window showing the video's metadata. These files were created using advanced AI face-swapping software, probably something built on the Deepface Lab framework. But the real kicker? Look at the timestamps. Colin squinted at the screen. These videos were supposedly made while I was at work? Not just at work, specifically during your 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. shifts at Meridian Tech. I pulled your badge access logs from their security system. You were physically in the building during every single one of these alleged video calls. That's proof right there. It's a start, but we need more. Courts are still learning how to handle deepfake evidence. We need to prove not just that these are fake, but who made them and why. Ari cracked his knuckles. Tell me about Madeline's tech skills. Could she have done this herself? Colin shook his head. She can barely update her iPhone without calling me for help. Her idea of advanced technology is scheduling Instagram posts. There's no way she created sophisticated deepfakes. Then someone's helping her? Someone with serious technical chops and a personal grudge. Ari pulled up financial records on another screen. These crypto payments came from a wallet that was funded through microtransactions from your joint business account. Small amounts, $50, $100 at a time, probably hoping you wouldn't notice. But Madeline handles our books. She's the only one with access to that account? Exactly. So either your wife is secretly a tech genius playing the long game, or she's got a very sophisticated partner. Ari's eyes gleamed with the thrill of the hunt. Time to dig deeper into Madeline's recent connections. They spent the next 4 hours combing through Madeline's social media presence, cross-referencing her followers, likes, and comments. Most connections were mundane: yoga friends, neighbors, small business networking contacts. But one name kept appearing in her interactions over the past 8 months. Vincent Vin Locke. This guy, Ari said, pulling up Vin's Instagram profile, a crypto influencer, digital nomad, claims to help small businesses leverage blockchain technology for exponential growth. Classic scammer vibes. Colin studied the photos of a handsome man in his mid-30s posing with expensive cars, luxury watches, and exotic locations. I remember Madeline mentioning some business mentor she was working with, said he was helping her expand her lifestyle blog into an e-commerce empire. And look at this, Ari pointed to a photo from 3 months ago. Vin and Madeline at some networking event downtown. She's hanging on his arm like they're more than business partners. Colin's jaw clenched. That manipulative witch. She's been planning this for months, probably longer. Creating convincing deepfakes takes time, especially if you want them court-ready. This Vin character has the technical background. His LinkedIn shows he worked for several tech startups before becoming a full-time influencer. And he's got motive if he wants Madeline but needs you out of the picture. A new piece of the puzzle clicked into place. She's been coming home late from these business meetings for the past 6 months. Always had an excuse. Networking events, strategy sessions, late-night brainstorming. I thought she was finally pursuing her dreams. She was pursuing something, all right. Ari pulled up Vin's business registrations. Look at this. He's got a server hosting company registered in Delaware. Small operation, but definitely capable of running the kind of infrastructure needed for this deepfake operation. Colin stood up, pacing the small apartment like a caged animal. So they've been planning this entire thing, the affairs, the evidence, the divorce. It's all an elaborate setup to steal my life. That's the theory. But proving it in court is another matter entirely. We need smoking gun evidence, something that directly ties Vin to the creation of these videos. Then let's get it. Ari looked up from his screens, noting the hard edge that had crept into Colin's voice. What are you thinking? I'm thinking it's time to pay Mr. Locke a visit. Whoa, hold up. Ari grabbed Colin's arm. You can't just confront him directly. If he's smart enough to pull off this kind of operation, he's smart enough to cover his tracks when threatened. Then what do you suggest? Ari grinned, his fingers already flying across the keyboard. We use his own tools against him. Time to see how Vincent Locke likes being the target of a little digital manipulation. The parking garage beneath Vin Locke's downtown apartment building was poorly lit and eerily quiet at 2 a.m. Colin crouched behind a concrete pillar, watching the entrance while Ari worked his digital magic from a rental van 30 feet away. His phone just connected to the building's Wi-Fi, Ari whispered through Colin's earpiece. I'm in his network now, installing monitoring software on his devices as we speak. After 3 sleepless nights of planning, they were finally taking action. The past week had been a masterclass in digital surveillance as Ari taught Colin the basics of cyber warfare. Got it, Ari's voice crackled. His laptop's compromised. I'm downloading everything. Browser history, encrypted files, communication logs. Holy crap, Colin, you need to see this. What? He's got a folder labeled Project Madeline with over 200 deepfake training videos, different scenarios, different outfits, different conversations. He has been planning your downfall like it's a Hollywood production. Colin's hands clenched into fists. That son of a... Wait, there's more. He's got recordings of actual phone calls between him and Madeline. She's not just a victim here, man. She's a full partner in this operation. The elevator dinged and Vin Locke emerged, his phone pressed to his ear. Even at 2 a.m., he looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine. Designer jeans, expensive sneakers. Yeah, baby, the court date's in 6 days, Vin was saying as he walked toward his BMW. After that, you'll be free and clear. We can finally be together without sneaking around. Colin had to bite his tongue to keep from charging out of hiding. This scumbag was talking to his wife about their future together while Colin's world burned around him. Don't worry about Colin, Vin continued, clicking his key fob. By the time this is over, he'll be lucky to keep his job, let alone fight for assets. Judges don't look kindly on cheating husbands who lie under oath. As Vin climbed into his car, Colin noticed something that made his blood run cold. A gym bag in the back seat, with what looked like camera equipment visible through the partially open zipper. Ari, he's got recording gear in his car. He's probably still creating content. Once he's gone, we can plan some surveillance of our own. Vin's BMW roared to life and disappeared up the parking garage ramp. Colin and Ari waited 5 minutes before emerging from their hiding spots. Keep watch while I work, Ari said, pulling a kit of electronic tools from his backpack. He approached Vin's assigned parking spot and knelt beside a concrete parking bumper. I'm installing a GPS tracker and a listening device. If this guy farts, we'll know about it. How long do we have? Based on his location pings, he usually stays out until 4 a.m. when he hits the club scene. But we should work fast just in case. Colin stood guard, while Ari worked with practiced efficiency. The tracker went under the BMW's rear bumper, magnetic and weatherproof. The listening device was more sophisticated, a tiny transmitter that Ari carefully tucked into the car's wheel well. Done, Ari whispered. Now, we wait and listen. They spent the next 3 days monitoring Vin's movements and conversations. The man was a creature of habit, morning workouts at an upscale gym, afternoons at trendy coffee shops, working on his laptop, evenings at expensive restaurants and nightclubs. But it was his phone calls that provided the real intelligence. Madeline, sweetheart, you need to stay focused during the hearing. Vin's voice came through their monitoring equipment with crystal clarity. Cry on cue, act devastated, really sell the betrayed wife angle. The judge needs to see you as the victim. I just feel guilty sometimes, Madeline's voice replied. Colin's not a bad man. He doesn't deserve to lose everything. He's weak, Vin snapped. Weak men don't deserve strong women like you. Besides, it's too late to back out now. It was a conversation on Thursday night that finally gave them the smoking gun they needed. The deepfake videos are perfect, Vin bragged to someone else. Probably another one of his criminal associates. I used over 300 photos from Madeline's phone and social media to create the Colin avatar. The voice synthesis took weeks to perfect, but now I can make him say anything I want. What about the financial trail? The other voice asked. Genius move. I use Madeline's access to their joint account to fund the fake transactions. Small amounts over months made it look like Colin was secretly paying for cam girl sessions. The crypto wallet belongs to a shell company I set up in the Cayman Islands. Completely untraceable back to us. And after the divorce? Madeline gets the house, half his assets, and spousal support. We sell the house, move to Costa Rica, and live like royalty on Colin's money. Perfect. Ari and Colin looked at each other in the surveillance van, both thinking the same thing. They had him. Time to spring the trap. Colin's smile was sharp enough to cut diamond. Vincent Locke wants to play games with deepfake technology? Let's show him what real consequences look like. The courtroom was packed on the morning of the final hearing. Colin sat at the defendant's table, but his demeanor had changed completely from 2 weeks ago. Gone was the confused, desperate man pleading his innocence. In his place sat someone harder, more focused, with the quiet confidence of a predator who'd spotted his prey. Madeline looked radiant in a black dress that managed to be both appropriately somber and subtly attractive. Your Honor, the attorney began, 2 weeks ago, we presented overwhelming evidence of Mr. Reese's infidelity and deception. Today, we're here to discuss the consequences of those actions and ensure that my client receives the justice she deserves. Judge Morrison nodded grimly. Mr. Brennan, does your client have any new evidence to present? Colin's public defender stood up, but it was Colin who spoke. Your Honor, I'd like to request that my friend Ari Mendoza be allowed to present technical evidence on my behalf. He's a certified cybersecurity expert with 15 years of experience in digital forensics. The judge looked skeptical but nodded. Very well. Mr. Mendoza, you're recognized as an expert witness. Ari approached the witness stand with a laptop bag and a confident stride. After being sworn in, he opened his computer and connected it to the courtroom's display system. Your Honor, what we're dealing with here isn't infidelity. It's identity theft and fraud of the highest order. The first slide appeared on the screen, showing a technical breakdown of the deepfake videos. These videos and audio recordings were created using advanced artificial intelligence software specifically designed to impersonate another person. Madeline's attorney objected. Your Honor, this is a desperate attempt to— I'll allow it, Judge Morrison interrupted. Continue, Mr. Mendoza. Every video presented as evidence contains digital artifacts consistent with AI-generated content. Ari clicked through detailed technical analyses, frame inconsistencies, facial mapping errors, audio compression signatures that don't match natural speech patterns. This isn't Colin Reese having affairs. This is someone creating a digital puppet using his likeness. Colin watched Madeline's face carefully. Her perfect composure was starting to crack. Furthermore, Ari continued, the financial transactions funding these alleged affairs came from crypto wallets that were funded through micro-siphoning from Mr. and Mrs. Reese's joint business account. Account access logs show these transactions occurred during times when only Mrs. Reese had system access. That's impossible, Madeline blurted out before her attorney could stop her. I mean, that doesn't prove anything. Colin could have given someone else access to the account. Judge Morrison raised an eyebrow at the outburst, but said nothing. Ari smiled coldly. That brings me to our next piece of evidence. Your Honor, we've identified the person responsible for this elaborate fraud. The screen displayed Vin Locke's photo and business registration documents. Vincent Locke, a cryptocurrency consultant who's been working closely with Mrs. Reese for the past 8 months. Colin saw Madeline go pale, her hands trembling slightly as she gripped her purse. Mr. Locke has the technical expertise to create sophisticated deepfakes, the business infrastructure to process untraceable cryptocurrency transactions, and most importantly, the personal motive to want Mr. Reese out of the picture. Objection? Madeline's attorney stood up. This is pure speculation without foundation. Actually, Ari continued calmly, we have recorded conversations between Mr. Locke and Mrs. Reese discussing their plan to frame Mr. Reese for infidelity. He clicked play on an audio file. Vin's voice filled the courtroom. The deepfake videos are perfect. I used over 300 photos from Madeline's phone and social media to create the Colin avatar. I can make him say anything I want. The courtroom erupted in shocked murmurs. Madeline looked like she was about to faint, while her attorney frantically shuffled through papers, trying to salvage an impossible situation. We also have evidence of their romantic relationship and their plan to abscond with Mr. Reese's assets after the divorce, Ari added, playing another clip where Vin and Madeline discussed their future together in Costa Rica. Judge Morrison's face was a mask of barely controlled fury. Mrs. Reese, do you have an explanation for these recordings? Madeline started to speak, then stopped, then started again. Someone's manipulating the evidence. Enough. the judge snapped. Bailiff, I want Vincent Locke brought to this courtroom immediately. Mrs. Reese, you're to remain here under supervision while we sort this out. But as the bailiff moved toward the courtroom doors, they burst open dramatically. Vin Locke strode in, looking every inch the confident entrepreneur in his tailored suit and expensive watch. Your Honor, I understand there's been some confusion about my relationship with Mrs. Reese. I'm here to clear the air. Colin felt a surge of satisfaction. This was exactly what he'd hoped for. Vin's arrogance would be his downfall. Mr. Locke, Judge Morrison said, her voice deadly quiet, you're under oath. Do you admit to creating fraudulent video evidence to implicate Mr. Reese in adultery? Vin smiled charmingly. Your Honor, I'm a legitimate businessman helping Mrs. Reese develop her online presence. Any suggestion that I've committed fraud is simply, then explain these, Ari interrupted, playing another audio recording. This time it was Vin bragging to his associate about the perfect crime, describing in detail how he'd created the deepfake videos and manipulated the financial records. The smile disappeared from Vin's face like someone had flipped a switch. That recording is fake, illegally obtained, doctored evidence. Actually, Colin stood up for the first time, his voice carrying a new authority. The recordings were obtained through legally placed surveillance equipment on your vehicle, which was parked in a public parking garage. No expectation of privacy, no illegal wiretapping. Vin's eyes widened as he realized he'd walked directly into a trap. He started backing toward the courtroom exit, but two bailiffs moved to block his path. Your Honor, Colin continued, I'd also like to submit evidence that Mr. Locke has been running similar scams in 3 other states. We found communications with at least 6 other married women, offering to help them secure their financial future through elaborate divorce fraud schemes. The evidence kept coming. Financial records, email communications, server logs from Vin's hosting company showing the creation and storage of dozens of deepfake videos targeting other unsuspecting husbands. Madeline was crying now. These were the desperate sobs of someone watching their carefully constructed world collapse around them. Mrs. Reese, Judge Morrison's voice could have frozen helium. In light of this evidence, I'm dismissing all claims in your divorce petition. Furthermore, I'm referring this case to the district attorney for investigation of fraud, identity theft, perjury, and conspiracy charges. Your Honor, please, Madeline begged. I was manipulated. Vin told me Colin was already cheating, that this was just evening the score. I never meant for it to go this far. Save it for your criminal attorney, the judge replied coldly. Bailiff, please escort Mrs. Reese and Mr. Locke into custody. I'm setting bail at $500,000 each. As handcuffs clicked around Madeline's wrists, she looked back at Colin with desperate eyes. Colin, please. Tell them I'm not a criminal. Don't let them destroy my life. Colin met her gaze steadily. You destroyed your own life the moment you decided to destroy mine. The only difference is my destruction was based on lies. Yours is based on justice. 3 months later, Colin stood in the kitchen of his newly renovated house, brewing coffee and reading the morning news on his tablet. The sun streamed through windows that had been professionally cleaned for the first time in years, casting warm light across hardwood floors that gleamed with fresh polish. The house felt different now, lighter somehow, as if removing Madeline's presence had lifted a weight that Colin hadn't even realized he'd been carrying. He'd redecorated completely, choosing furniture and colors that reflected his own taste, rather than compromised choices made to keep peace in his marriage. His phone buzzed with a text from Ari. Check your email. You're going to want to see this. Colin opened his laptop and found a message from his attorney with the subject line, Final Settlement Details. He smiled as he read through the document. Due to the fraud and conspiracy charges, Madeline had forfeited all claims to marital assets. She'd also been ordered to pay restitution for the legal fees Colin had incurred defending himself, plus damages for emotional distress and damage to his reputation. The total came to nearly $200,000. More satisfying than the money was the criminal case update. Madeline had pled guilty to conspiracy to commit fraud and identity theft in exchange for a reduced sentence of 2 years in minimum security prison plus 5 years probation. She'd also agreed to testify against Vin Locke, whose case was going to trial. Vin, meanwhile, was facing federal charges in 4 states. The FBI had discovered his operation was much larger than anyone had initially suspected. He'd been running deepfake blackmail and divorce fraud schemes across the country, targeting successful men with assets worth stealing. Colin's case had blown the lid off a multi-million-dollar criminal enterprise. The doorbell rang, interrupting Colin's reading. Through the peephole, He saw a woman in her 30s with auburn hair and kind eyes, holding a manila envelope. Mr. Reese, I'm Detective Sarah Chen with the Digital Crimes Unit. I have some updates on the Locke case that I thought you'd want to hear in person. Colin invited her in and offered coffee, which she accepted gratefully. We've identified 17 other victims of Locke's operation, Detective Chen reported, settling into Colin's living room. Thanks to the evidence you and Mr. Mendoza gathered, we've been able to build airtight cases against him. He's looking at 25 to life under federal racketeering statutes. What about the other victims? Most of their marriages survived once they could prove the evidence against them was fake. A few weren't so lucky. The damage was already too severe, but they'll all receive restitution from Locke's seized assets. Detective Chen paused, studying Colin carefully. I have to ask, how are you handling all this? Most people would be devastated to discover their spouse's betrayal ran so deep. Colin considered the question seriously. Honestly, it was devastating at first, but then I realized something important. The woman I thought I was married to never really existed. The real Madeline was always manipulative. I just couldn't see it because I was too trusting. And now I'm free. Colin smiled genuinely. For the first time in years, I am actually looking forward to the future. After Detective Chen left, Colin called Ari to share the updates. 25 to life? Ari whistled appreciatively. That's some serious justice right there. It feels like closure, Colin replied. Speaking of which, I have something for you. That evening, Ari arrived at Colin's house to find an envelope waiting for him with a check inside. $50,000. Your consulting fee. You saved my life, reputation, and my future. This is the least I can do. Colin, I can't accept this. We're friends. I didn't do this for money. I know you didn't. That's exactly why you deserve it. Colin clapped his friend on the shoulder. They celebrated with expensive whiskey and talked until late into the night about their plans for the future. Ari was thinking about starting his own cybersecurity firm, specializing in helping victims of digital fraud. Colin was considering early retirement from Meridian Tech to pursue consulting work, maybe travel for the first time in his adult life. A year later, Colin received a letter from Madeline in prison. It was 3 pages of apologies, explanations, and pleas for forgiveness. She claimed she'd found religion, that she understood now how wrong she'd been, that she still loved him and hoped they could reconcile when she was released. Colin read the letter once, then fed it into his paper shredder without a second thought. Some people deserved second chances. Others deserved exactly what they got.